Welcome to our 11th class with Dr. C. It's vision. From old school signatures to image-based precision. Deep learning rising, powered by the mighty GPU. Stamina's the framework that is making malware new. 99.07% is the accuracy. A new era of cybersecurity!
Welcome, everyone. We're diving into the exciting world of deep learning for intrusion detection. Think of deep learning as giving our computers super smart detection abilities. Today, we start with the building blocks, the neural network. On this slide, you see the major concepts we'll cover: neural networks and tensors. We'll start with the network and then see how tensors are the magic container that holds all the network's data. Now, before we get too deep into the math, let's take a quick detour to something fun that actually illustrates the math surprisingly well. Take a look at this link. After class, I highly recommend you all go play Angry Birds Classic. Why? It's a perfect real-world example of two core math concepts used constantly in neural networks: projectile trajectory and collision detection. Every time a bird flies or hits a pig structure, the game's engine is performing complex calculations. This is exactly what a neural network does, just with data instead of cartoon birds. It calculates paths and determines interactions, or collisions, between data points. Keep this game in mind. It makes the abstract math much more tangible. So let's break down those Angry Birds concepts. You have the projectile trajectory, the bird's path, collision detection, did it hit the target, and how neighbor objects and behavior react. In a neural network, this is similar to the data flow, trajectory, the activation function, collision check, did the neuron fire, and the output leading to the next layer, behavior reaction. It's all about calculating a path, checking a condition, and reacting. We're using game physics to understand the hidden mechanics of deep learning. Angry Birds itself isn't a true AI application, but it highlights something crucial: the sheer amount of calculations needed for smooth performance. The math is known, but it takes massive processing power to make the game feel smooth and imagination creativity to make it fun. Guess what? Those 2 points, processing power and imagination, or innovative models, are the same 2 challenges we face in deep learning. We know the basic math, but scaling it up and finding creative ways to use it is what matters. This is why hardware is important. Training a deep neural network, DNN, is a compute-intensive process. We deal with hundreds of thousands of input samples and models with over 1 billion parameters to adjust. At its heart, this means trillions of floating-point multiplications and additions. Neural networks rely heavily on matrix math, which is why GPUs, which are fantastic at parallel matrix operations, are so essential. Think of a GPU as a massive team of calculators working simultaneously, while a CPU is a small team of very powerful experts working one by one. Let's zoom into a single neuron. The core calculation is simple. We take the input, multiply it by a weight, how important is this input, add a bias, a tweak value, and sum it all up. Then, the activation function applies to that result. That function acts as a gate. It decides if the neuron fires and passes information to the next layer. This slide shows a simple network: 4 inputs to 3 outputs, then 3 to 6, then 6 to 2. It's all just simple math, repeated thousands of times. The magic of deep learning is abstraction. Instead of thinking about individual neurons, we think about whole layers as matrices. For our simple example, layer 1 is a 4x3 matrix of weights, layer 2 is a 3x6, and so on. All these matrices are initialized with random values and then tuned during training. The core processing function for data moving between these layers? Matrix multiplication. That's the engine running the whole show. A quick reminder on matrix multiplication, because order is important. You can only multiply 2 matrices if the number of columns in the first one equals the number of rows in the second one. The result will have the rows of the first and the columns of the second. In our neural network, the output of one layer must match the input size of the next. It's a very strict, structured data flow, all governed by these matrix rules. Here's a visual of how matrix dimensions align with our core equation. You can see the weights matrix dimensions, the input dimensions, and the resulting output dimensions. This is the visual proof of the rule we just discussed. The inner dimensions must match to make the math work. We've established that layers are matrices, and the main function is matrix multiplication. This is why GPUs are so effective. They were built for 3D visualization, which is also based on matrix algebra. But technically, the data structure we're actually manipulating isn't just a matrix, it's a more general object called a tensor. So, what's a tensor? Think of it as a generalization of a matrix to more than 2 dimensions. A vector is a 1D tensor, a matrix with one row column. A matrix is a 2D tensor. A tensor has n dimensions, which we call its rank. They are the fundamental data structures in machine learning, so fundamental that Google's open source library is called TensorFlow. This multidimensional structure allows us to handle complex data like color images or video, which have depth in addition to height and width. Take a look at the fundamental difference between a CPU and a GPU. A CPU has a small number of powerful cores, like a handful of specialized experts. A GPU has a very large number of simple stream processors, like a massive synchronized factory. Since neural network training is just repeating the same matrix multiplication trillions of times, the GPU's parallel assembly line approach is far more efficient than the CPU's powerful but limited core count. NVIDIA GPUs have specialized units called tensor cores. These are hardwired to do extremely fast 4x4 matrix multiplications. That single 4x4 operation requires 64 individual operations, and the tensor core does it in one go. In practice, all those small 4x4 elements are chained together to perform the massive, higher dimensional matrix operations needed for deep learning. This specialized hardware is a key driver of modern deep learning efficiency. Let's switch to an application today: computer vision. What we see as an image is just a set of color values, an array of numbers distributed over width and height. This slide shows how an image is processed in a ConvNet, convolutional neural network. Notice the first step, conversion from a color scale, RGB, to grayscale. Why? It simplifies the data so the network can easily detect edges by looking for changes in pixel values. Edge detection is the first step the network takes to classify an image into a category. Historically, malware detection relied on binary signatures, like fingerprints, or methods like static and dynamic analysis. The problem? Malware variants are increasing exponentially, making signature matching less straightforward. Static analysis is confused by code obfuscation, hiding the code, and dynamic analysis, running the code in a sandbox, is time-consuming. We need a new approach to keep up, and that's where deep learning comes in. Intel Labs and Microsoft collaborated on a solution called Stamina, static malware as image network analysis. The goal was to use deep learning to avoid complex manual feature engineering and instead use an image-based transfer learning approach to classify malware. They treated the malware binary file itself as an image and trained a system on it. This was tested on a massive dataset of 2.2 million malware binaries. The key idea: if we can't read the code, let's look at its picture. The core breakthrough came from visually inspecting the malware binaries, which were represented as grayscale images. Researchers noticed a critical pattern. Malware from the same family share structural similarities, while different families look distinct. This visual observation provided the foundation for treating the malware classification problem not as a complex code analysis task, but as a simple vision classification task. Just like identifying a cat or a dog in a photo, but here it's a good file or a malicious file. This principle applies directly to the structure of files like the portable executable (PE) format. Standard PE files have similar internal structures. However, malicious PEs often have manipulated structures due to evasion techniques like packing, encryption, or code obfuscation. These differences in internal structure, caused by malicious tricks, create visible differences in the image of the file. So the deep learning model learns to spot these visual tricks. The Stamina process is straightforward and has 3 main steps. 1. Pre-processing image conversion, where the raw binary becomes a 2D image. 2. Transfer learning, where a pre-trained image model is adapted to the malware classification task. 3. Evaluation, where the system's performance is tested. We're going to dive into each of these steps now to see the details. The pre-processing step is simple. Convert the raw binary into a 2D image with minimal feature engineering. The deep neural network handles the complex feature extraction itself. Then we apply transfer learning. Imagine you have a dog-cat classifier, a pre-trained model. Instead of training a malware classifier from scratch, we borrow the knowledge from that dog-cat classifier, freeze most of its layers, and only fine-tune the last few layers on our new malware dataset. This saves massive amounts of time and data, letting us apply computer vision knowledge to cybersecurity. This graphic illustrates the transfer learning process. We take a convolutional neural network, CNN, and train it on our malware and benign, good images. The key is the retrained layers. These are the layers we fine-tune to teach the model to distinguish between malware and benign files, leveraging the deep feature extraction power of the pre-trained CNN. The final step is evaluation, where we look at metrics like accuracy, false positive rate, precision, and recall. The results were outstanding: 99.07% accuracy with a very low 2.58% false positive rate. This means the system is incredibly good at classifying malware. Furthermore, the evaluation confirmed that even with image resizing, malware from the same family still resulted in similar visual patterns, validating the image-based approach. That wraps up our case study. If you're interested in learning more, here are some great articles to check out, covering how computer vision applies to cyber threats and the philosophical limits of what AI can solve. I highly encourage you to explore them and continue your learning journey. And that brings us to the end of our lecture on deep learning for intrusion detection. We went from the basic neuron and matrix math to applying those concepts in a cutting-edge malware detection system. Great job today. If you have any questions, please reach out. See you next time.